Hello, this is Amy Merkel, Counselor and Transfer Center Director at Santa Rosa Junior College, and today I'll be presenting the workshop Ready, Set, Apply, which is for students who are going to be applying to the CSU, UC, or a campus that uses the Common App. So this screen shows the tasks that students need to be working on in this next year. And what I've done is split it up between the fall and the spring semesters. So in the fall, you want to start looking at the personal insight questions or other essay topics that you may need to be completing. And so starting that sooner than later is always a good thing. You also want to start researching and organizing any tasks or deadlines that you have according to each of the schools. And so you want to know, when are each of the applications due? Well, first, when do they open up? When are they due? Do they have a supplemental? So to begin that research, so you have a clear plan on what it is that you're doing. The UC application opened on August the 1st. And so you can get on and begin that application now if you are applying to the University of California. You can also start the common application if you're applying to a private school or an out-of-state campus. In the month of September, the UC opens the transfer admission guarantee, and so you have until September 30th to submit your tag. The Transfer Center has resources available online, and we also offer workshops. There's also, the workshop is recorded, so if you'd like to watch it online, you can do that as well. In the month of September, you want to begin researching scholarships, and this is something that you want to continue to do each and every month. So my recommendation is that you decide on a timeline for yourself. Choose a particular date in the month where you will do that research. And so you want to keep up on that to see if new scholarships have come up that you might qualify for. And my recommendation is to, begin with the SRJC scholarship page. So I'm here on transfersantarosa.edu. And on our page, we have a link to financial aid and scholarships for transfer. So you can see different financial aid options. And then down in here, we have those are still financial aid. Down here, we have scholarships available. And then we also have links to each of the campuses. So let's start with the SRJC Foundation Scholarship. That's the biggest scholarship that SRJC offers. And currently, they are accepting a fall application. So this has not happened very often where they open it for fall. So the application is due by October the 1st for fall. And you would be applying as a continuing student. And then you can submit the application again when it opens in January. So it typically opens January 2nd and is due by March 1st. And for that, you would do the transferring student scholarship. And so I highly recommend that you apply for the foundation scholarships. You're only competing with other SRJC students who are also applying. So it's not a huge pool of students that you're competing against. You can also use the business and community scholarships or the outside scholarship list that the SRJC Scholarship Office has put together. There's a lot of different scholarship search engines. And so my recommendation is to pick, 2 or 3 that you want to continuously look at. Looking at scholarships can become a big dark hole if you keep going down that. And so, trying not to get lost in that, but to choose some search engines that you're comfortable with and you know how to use and that type of thing. The other thing that you should be aware of is a lot of campuses offer scholarships to incoming transfer students. So for example, Sonoma State offers a scholarship, and that scholarship is open to incoming transfer students. It is due, I believe, yes, by February 1st. So they open it October 1st of each year, and it's due by February 1st. And they allow incoming transfer students to apply for that. So look at the campuses you're applying to see what scholarships they may have available. The UC application includes a section on scholarships, but you also may want to research the campuses to see what they have available. So that scholarship search is really, really important. In the month of October, you can begin and submit your CSU application. So the CSU application opens on October the 1st and is due by November the 30th. And so what you want to do is start that application, complete it as thoroughly as possible, and then sign up to attend one of the UC CSU review workshop sessions, and we will look over your application and make recommendations for corrections or answer any questions, and then you can hit submit. And then you want to apply for financial aid, the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act, in the month of October. That application needs to be completed by March the 2nd, but we highly recommend that you just get it done sooner than later. In the month of November, again, that UC application opened August 1st. You can only submit between November 1st and November 30th. So you can be ready to go and submit it in the month of November. And then in December, you're going to keep up that scholarship search. So keep looking for those scholarships. All right, the California State University, the fall semester application, as I mentioned, is October 1st through the 30th. And for spring, it's August 1st through the 31st. And that's if the campus is accepting mid-year transfer students. And you also need to look at what their rules are for spring transfer students. So for example, you may need to have the 60 units completed by the end of summer if you're a spring transfer student. The campuses you're looking at are from Humboldt down to San Diego. There are 23 campuses that you can apply to. It is one application that you're filling out. And then within the application, if your campus has specific questions they want answered, they will include that within the application. So for the CSU application, you are going to record all courses you've ever taken and the grades that you received. So if you took a class and you withdrew from that class, you are going to list it on the application. If you took a class and it was not transferable, it gets listed. If you applied for academic renewal or repeated, it gets listed. So you're going to have your coursework in front of you and enter each and every class. And that's from all campuses, all college campuses you have ever attended. If you're going to be applying for EOP, you need to know that there is a section that needs to be answered for the EOP application. And it includes questions that are personal about you and your family, as well as financial information. And then I believe it's 7 short questions that you respond to. And they also require that students complete or request 2 letters of recommendation. So you need to know that early on so that you can make those requests and get those in. The application can be found at calstate.edu/apply. And so I will go into the application at the end of this workshop to show you what the CSU application looks like, because it has caused some issues for students in the past. So one of the most important things you want to look at is what major are you going to be applying for at each campus. And this is not something that you want to be determining at the time of application. You want to have done this workshop or this research prior to submitting the application. You want to determine, is the major impacted? And if so, what are the requirements and have you met those requirements? So this page is part of the CSU website. So you could just Google CSU impacted admissions requirements, and it should come up. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So here you can see Bakersfield, the only major that's impacted at Bakersfield is nursing. So if you're a psych major, there's no extra criteria that has to be done. But if you're applying to Sonoma State as a psych major and you click on this link, it will take you to Sonoma State's requirements. So as a psych major, you need to have a 3.0 GPA in your CSU transferable courses. You need to have Intro to Psychology, which is our Psych 1A, completed with at least a C. You need to have Research Methods, which is Psych 1B. If you took that, it needs to be a C or better. This is a recommended, it's not a requirement. Same with Statistics, Math 15, or Psych 9 is recommended, and that's a C or higher. And then applicants will be ranked according to incoming GPA. So if you are at a 2.5 GPA, then you do not qualify for the impaction criteria for the psych major at Sonoma State. And you need to meet that GPA requirement at time of application. So they're not going to be taking your fall grades into consideration to see if you've met that criteria. And so you want to make sure that you have that GPA at time of application, okay? And so looking at impaction criteria is an important part of the process. Whoops. When you fill out the application, you want to have access to all your college transcripts, including advanced placement and international baccalaureate. When you look at those transcripts, you want to look and see if you repeated anything. So at SRJC, if you look at your transcript, on the far right-hand side, there would be a code of 05 if you repeated the course. So if you took Anthropology 1 and you earned a D, but then you repeated it and the second time you earned an A, you would not enter the D into your transcript. You would enter RP for the grade because you don't want the D and the A calculated in the CSU application. If you applied for academic renewal, you were forgiven of a D or F grade, you decided not to repeat Anthro 1, but you did academic renewal, you would have a code of 40 on your transcripts, and you would put the grade for Anthro 1 as AR instead of the D. So you really want to pay attention to that. You want to determine if you're earning an associate's degree, and if so, what kind of an associate's degree is it? Is it a local SRJC degree, or is it an associate's degree for transfer? And if you're not sure, go back and look at your last ed plan that was done by a counselor. And if you're still not sure, then go in and speak with a counselor so that you can figure that piece out, because it is an important part of the CSU application. And then, as I already talked about, you want to learn more about the EOP program at each campus and decide if you're going to be applying for that program. So on the Transfer Center website, you can find help by clicking on Applying to a University. And then here we have application resources. One of the most helpful resources I think you'll find is a video similar to this where I walk through the CSU application and how to fill it out. However, I don't get access to that application until October 1st, just like you. So I would wait to watch that video until, October 3rd or something. You have to give me a little bit of time to look at the application and determine what has been updated and then to re-record the CSU application video. There's also an application guide and a guide for undocumented students and things like that. So you want to, check these resources out prior to applying to the CSU. Currently, if you filled out an application to transfer in spring, that application does not roll over. So you have to start the process again. Maybe that is something CSU will be working on, but at this moment in time, you do have to start a new application. So the University of California, as I mentioned, Their application opens on August 1st, and you submit between November 1st and the 30th. If a campus is opened for winter or spring, then you would apply between July 1st and 31st. The UC recently updated their application, and it is fairly easy to use. So it's a little bit easier, honestly, than the CSU, and most students don't get as stuck in the UC application. But you can find their application by visiting apply.universityofcalifornia.edu. There are 9 campuses that you can apply to within the UC system, so ranging from Davis down to San Diego. There is also UC San Francisco, but you'll notice it's not listed here because it's not for undergraduates. So just as in the CSU application, you're going to record all courses you've ever taken and the grades that you've earned. There's also a section on activities, which includes paid or unpaid work, volunteer work, any clubs, hobbies, or projects or awards that you've received. And then there are 4 short question responses. They're called the personal insight questions, which we have a video for that as well, or you're welcome to attend a brainstorming session for the PIQs. So some tips for the UC: you want to research if your major is selective, and again, if so, have you met the requirements? So for example, at Davis, all of the biology majors are impacted and require at least a 3.2 GPA. But majors that are not selective or impacted, you only need a 2.8. So you want to research that to see, have you met those requirements? You can create what's called a TAP account with the UC system, and it will save you time when you go to fill out the application. When you fill this out, you're entering your college coursework, including any AP or IB coursework. And then when you go to fill out the application, it will ask you if you have a TAP account, and then it will pull that information over so that you don't have to do it again. If you've repeated any courses, the system flags it. So you actually put in the original grade that you earned, and then you enter the class again, and the system will ask you, is this a repeat of the class you didn't pass? So they do it a little bit differently. And then again, if you were forgiven for a D or F grade, you did academic renewal, you actually put in AR, and that's one of the options that's listed on the drop-down menu for grades within the UC application. You want to review the UC limitations sheet, and what this shows is how UC limits certain courses. So for example, if you took Child Development 10 and Psych 4, you will only receive credit for one of those classes. So you're only getting 3 units instead of 6, and only 3 units would be going into your GPA. So you want to look at this list and see, did I take History 17.2 and 18.2? Again, you get credit for 1 course. If you took Math 25 and Math 27, you're going to get credit for 1 course. So you want to review this list to see if you've done anything on here that has a limitation. The other thing that you should be aware of is that the UCs limit activity units to 4. So those are typically, our classes at SRJC are in the kinesiology department, our CAD classes, our PE units, or athletics. So if you have played a sport, you're going to be limited to 4 units of athletics and CAD classes, so 4 units total. So that has an effect on your unit totals as well as your GPA, and it's something you need to be aware of. You want to start reviewing the PIQs and begin your drafts. So here is a link to the personal insight questions. You can watch this short video that they have. You can download a PDF. You can review the questions. So there's 1 question that everybody has to answer, the required question. And then there are 7 additional questions that you choose 3. So they're giving you the choice of which question you would like to answer. So start looking at those, start your drafts to see, how you're doing. Maybe the one you picked, you struggle in, so you want to go back and choose something else. So get started on these sooner rather than later. If you are applying to UC Berkeley in a major that's under the College of Letters and Sciences, you need to have IGETC completed by the end of spring for fall admissions. So you really want to make sure that IGETC will be done, and if you're uncertain about that, please go in and speak with a counselor. Oops. So on the Transfer Center website, again, under Applying to a University, we have the UC how-to video for the application. We have a link to create a TAP account. We have a link to the UC limitations that I've shown, and also information on the Personal Insight questions. So all of those things I've shown here, you can find on the Transfer Center website by going to Applying to a University. All right, so if you are applying to a California independent or an out-of-state campus, you may find that they use what's called the Common Application. And the Common Application is actually the same system that the CSU uses. So it looks exactly the same with some differences. So typically campuses that use the Common App want the application completed sometime in January or beyond. So they usually do not have that November 30th deadline, and you can research what campuses require for their deadline to have the application in by. Some campuses require that you have it in sooner for scholarship consideration. So that would be important that you have that in so you can be considered for the various specific scholarships that the campus offers. So some potential requirements would be listing all your courses that you've ever taken with the grades. Some campuses ask for specific activities that you have been involved in. Some campuses want an essay or more than one essay. Some campuses have short answers that they require. Some require letters of recommendation. And some campuses do require an SAT or ACT score for transfer students. We do see that more for campuses back east, but it is something that you need to research. If you did not take the SAT or ACT, is that something that you're willing to go and do? So some tips for the Common Application. You want to confirm with the institution that you've met the admission requirements. So you need to do some research to make sure that you have enough units to transfer. And a lot of campuses use this program called Transferology. And so you can go in to see what classes they have accepted from Santa Rosa Junior College from past students. You want to find out if there's any required major prep or general education that needs to be done. Hopefully you've already researched that piece. And then you want to know what required tasks need to be done. So are there letter of recommendations that you need to start requesting? Do you need the SAT or ACT? Do you have to fill out the college report or the midterm report? And on the SRJC Transfer Center website, under Applying to a University, we have the Common Application information. So it would take you here, and you can see what the college report procedures are. There's a link to the midterm report and so forth. Sometimes you need to submit a high school and a college transcript. Sometimes they'll only ask for the college transcript, but if you need that high school transcript, you don't want to be scrambling to get that. You want to start looking to see what the personal statement might be, or if there are supplemental questions. So here's just an example from the University of Chicago. They have a required question here, and then they have a ton of questions that you choose one to answer. And so, some of them are just unique. The way that they do this is they ask past students to, past or current students to submit essay questions. And so, here's one, what's so odd about odd numbers? So some of them are fun and light, some of them not so much. So just know that it depends on the campus what kind of question they may be proposing for you to answer. And you want to research that out so you have a really good idea. You want to see if you need to fill out the CSS profile for scholarships or the FAFSA or DREAM Act application. Which of those are you going to be doing? Does the profile need to be done to move forward in the application? That type of thing. So I just showed you this, applying to a university and going to the Common App information. All right, so here's the second half of our year. In January, you may be asked to submit transcripts by some schools. The UCs typically do not request transcripts. It's going to be more of the CSU and the campuses you completed the common application for. Both the UC and the CSU require application updates. So you go into those systems, you report what your fall grades were, and if your spring classes are still the same. And if not, you would update that. So if in the application you said you're taking History 4.1 and you're actually taking History 4.2, you would update that information. Some campuses and some majors require a supplemental application. So for example, Cal Poly San Luis requires a supplemental application be completed, and you want to make sure that you get that done by the deadline. Sac State for criminal justice has a supplemental application. So you need to find out, does my campus or major want me to do more? Sometimes they don't tell you that that has to be done, so you need to dig deeper. In February, you want to apply for your associate's degree from SRJC if you're completing that, and begin researching housing options. In March, you're going to submit the SRJC Foundation Scholarship by March 1st, and any financial aid applications by March 2nd. The Transfer Center offers a workshop called Transfer Transition. We actually do this throughout the spring semester, but if you can make it by April, that's great. So the workshop really focuses in on what is it going to be like once you transfer. We spend a lot of time talking about the transfer process, and in that workshop we talk about things you need to know to get off on a good start. In May, you would accept or deny your admission offers, pay your deposit, continue researching and securing housing, and definitely sign up for orientation. And if you can do an in-person orientation, we highly recommend that. In May, the Transfer Center has a transfer celebration, and we highly recommend that you come to the celebration so we can celebrate your successes. In June, you would submit a final transcript with your spring grades. If you're taking a summer class, you would still submit that transcript in June with your spring grades and then submit another one with that summer class grade. And one thing that's not on here is to also request the GE certification if you are completing the CSU General Ed or the IGETC. When you request that final transcript, you can also request to have the GE certification sent along with it. And that is an important piece that you don't want to miss. And then you also want to attend orientation in June. So that is the process of applying and, different tasks that you would want to be going through in this next year. So I highly recommend, if you have questions, come in and we can help you to answer those questions. But I do want to go through really quickly and just show you what the CSU application looks like. So I am logging in to Cal State Apply, and this is what it looks like. It has 4 boxes that you need to work through. When you first log in, you are asked the following questions. So who are you? What is it that you're going for? I'm going for my first bachelor's degree, and I'm transferring with an associate's degree for transfer. So this is the part where you need to go figure out, am I a associate's degree for transfer student, or am I an associate degree student? So if you're earning like the social and behavioral sciences degree, natural sciences, humanities, those are local degrees that do not offer benefits at the CSUs like the ADTs do, okay? So if you're not getting an ADT degree, you would mark this down here. I'm transferring from a community college. So I've marked that I'm earning an ADT, and I've attended Santa Rosa Junior College, and my ADT program is Administration of Justice. Then it's asking, am I returning to a CSU campus? No, I'm not. I'm not a member of the military, and I'm not an international applicant. Okay. And I want you to keep in mind that you are an upper division transfer student, that you will have 60 transferable units by the end of spring. Okay, so you don't have to have that at time of admissions. For fall students, you need to have it by the end of spring. So the personal information, most of that is pretty straightforward. There are a few questions that students get hung up in here, but you can watch that application video, and that will go through those. For the academic history, the transcript entry is the bulk of this application. And so you're going to, again, enter every class you've ever taken, okay? And so if I go add a course, then it's like, where is it? Where am I adding this? It's up here. So I'm scrolling up, and there it is, okay? So if I want to say that I took child development, if I just enter it that way, it's going to auto-populate for me. So if I then say, okay, I took child development 10, it's putting in the information here, the title of the course. This is 3.0 units. I need to put in my grade, and I can't save this. Why can't I save it? So there's a few things going on here. This CAS box, which doesn't have anything to do with undergrad applications, is not filled in. So I'm just going to click there, and my A comes over. It's for graduate school applicants. I still can't save it, and that's because I haven't selected a subject. So when I look through here for child development, the closest I'm going to get is child psychology, and that's fine. Do not get hung up on subject areas, okay? So just come as close to it as possible. You see here I've entered AP coursework. So if you earned AP or IB, it gets listed in the first semester of your coursework at whatever college you went to first. A couple other things just to point out. This is 0.5, so half a unit class, okay? Students get tripped up on that. I'm going to add another class just to show you here. If I put in child development, that didn't work, hold on. Like that, I get no results found, okay? So it doesn't auto-populate for me. If I put in CHLD development, I get no results found. So don't put a space, and then you can auto-populate it for yourself. This is only going to pull up courses that are in Assist that are transferable. So if I took English 100, there is no English 100, so I have to type that in, okay? That one for sure would not auto-populate because it's not a transferable level course that's listed in Assist. So you have to do that yourself. You can see up here, it's asking me, was it summer 1 or summer 2? Just choose summer 1. It asks for the year, and then it asks for the academic status. So take your transcript at SRJC and split it in half and call the first half of your coursework freshman and the second half of your coursework sophomore. Again, something not to get hung up on, okay? The other thing we've seen that is unfortunate is a student just keeps entering all their coursework in summer one instead of adding a new semester, okay? So you want to add a new semester and keep going. So those are some of the typical issues that students run into, but for more detailed information, you can watch the video on how to fill out the CSU application. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to come visit us in the Transfer Center. We are located on the second floor of Bertolini on the Santa Rosa campus. Or if you're in Petaluma, you can visit the counseling office to speak with a counselor about any questions you may have.